Hello, welcome to Before the Weekend, your weekly update on things that I believe matter for society, economy, leadership and life, and that I look at through the perspective of noble purpose. This week I'm going to talk about three things. First thing, the economy versus ecology in the race for the Earth's rare minerals and materials. Two, the EU-Turkey Sofagate, instead of standing up for the principles, choosing the comfort of sitting down with ignorance. And three, freedom of choice and the price to pay. I hope you will enjoy this week's update. The first topic I want to talk about is the economy versus ecology in the race for the Earth's rare metals and minerals. There is a fast-growing need for rare earth metals and minerals to cover the exponential and needed progress in technology. We're thinking about electrical cars, windmills, solar panels, smartphones, laptops, and what have you. But there's also a growing tension between those who want to accept and those who want to prevent the exploitation of some of the most and rare natural reserves we have in the world. We're thinking about Greenland, we're thinking about the Arctic, we're thinking about California's mountain pass, we're thinking about Spain's Matumalas region and many other places on Earth. Now what happens is that due to global warming, more and more of these rare and unique places in the world, before global warming inaccessible, now become accessible, and they become very appealing spots for exploitation. Unfortunately, too often with a short-term profit-driven greed and desire also to control the global markets, because there is an enormous interest that is on stake. Let's think about what happened in Greenland with Trump in 2019 wanting to acquire Greenland from Denmark. Obviously that was not accepted. We have seen last week and this week China being very eager to have in Greenland the pro-exploitation party win. It was actually the Green against the exploitation party who won to the deception of China. The EU is also trying to get certain parts in Greenland to be exploited for the use in the high-end technology. Russia is showing more and more interest in the Arctic region, especially as they want to exploit that as an alternative route to the Suez Canal, but also because there is lots of gas and oil there. So what is actually the solution? Well, I do believe that we have to find ecologically acceptable ways to exploit mines and do it in a respectful way for the local or indigenous people that live there. And I think the old paradigm where economy and ecology are opposing forces is really gone. It's over as far as I'm concerned. I really believe that we have come to the time where in the coming years and decades, ecology and economy will have to go together, not oppose each other, because I think they are really complementary forces for the progress of society and humankind, and I think they have to go hand in hand. And I want to take an example of the French mining group Eramet that has been willing to combine the economic success with ecological and societal respect, with their noble purpose being that they want to become a reference for a responsible transformation of the Earth's minerals or mineral resources for the good living together. And I'm sure that that is not the only example to come. There will be many more in the future years. The second topic is the EU-Turkey Sofagate. Instead of standing up for the principles, choosing the comfort of sitting down with ignorance. Last Wednesday, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen found herself confronted with EU Council President Charles Michel and Turkey President Erdogan taking a golden chair and leaving her standing alone without a chair. It was quite embarrassing, to be quite honest. For many reasons, I found the scene also revealing of the lack of courage of the EU President, of what is going on in the EU leadership, and maybe even what is going on in the EU, and of how the EU accepts behavior from Erdogan that I consider as a total no-go. First, Charles Michel could simply have shown elegance and courtesy by being a gentleman and giving his chair to Ursula von der Leyen. After all, they have the same diplomatic rank. She is a lady, he is a man. Definitely not the gentleman in this case. Secondly, it would have been a great opportunity to show Mr. Erdogan, not necessarily renowned for democratic principles and even less for his female gender respect, what the EU really stands for and matters in the EU. And then thirdly, it would have been proof of how the EU leaders are one and united, and not lame ducks who either allow to be manipulated by a narcissistic alpha male or get blinded by diplomatic ego. So what can we learn from this? I too often see leaders who do not stand up for their principles and values. Too often they choose not to speak up, not to say what really matters, not really showing what is for them important because of wanting to keep the peace. And I think that's a wrong approach. If organizational and political leaders stand for something, I really believe that it is important that they should show it to the world. They have to take the responsibility to break the status quo, to show courage, and also to create awareness around them. Really, for me, it's all about choosing what is right. And by not doing so, leaders give wrong messages, do not give the example, do not inspire others, do actually accept to remain in the status quo. The third topic I want to share with you is about freedom of choice and the price to pay. Related to what I have been sharing in the second topic, I want to elaborate on something that I find really essential, and it is the human freedom to choose. Choose what we do not do, what we say, and what we not say. Very often I observe how people live in discomfort because they either accept things they don't agree with, or they don't choose to alter situations that profoundly bother them. In my recently published book, The Book of Noble Purpose, I have dedicated an entire chapter to that matter of choice, because lacking the courage to choose and standing firm and proud for one's choice is often what leads to unspoken irritations, to conflicts, to inhibition of potential, to destruction of value, to tense collaboration, and what have you. In organizations, I observe that the lack of choice and price, or the approach of choice and price, is often having an enormous cost of disengagement, demotivation, of decreased performance, of misalignment, of confusion, and even of conflict. And the Sofagate incident was, for me, one more example, unfortunately not a good example, of how in this case EU Council President Charles Michel was lacking the courage to either give his chair to Mrs. von der Leyen, with maybe as cost that he'd have to go and sit on the sofa, but with the gain of creating awareness and about how the EU, or at least he, treats women, and how important women are in interaction in international contexts. Alternatively, Michel could also have asked Erdogan to go and get a third chair, with the disadvantage or the cost that it would have disrupted the protocol ceremony, but with the gain again to have been gaining the respect of his colleague, and also create awareness around the role of women. And thirdly, more dramatically, he could have left simply. With as impact that the EU-Turkey relations would have probably taken a hit, but maybe with the gain that the whole conversation around the place, the position, literally the position of women in society would have become more actual. Maybe the cost for that was too high. In any case, what we see is that he didn't choose to do that. Now, last question I have here is, why is it that so often people don't choose to choose? Why is it that you don't choose to choose in specific contexts? Well, it's often because we don't make the link between choosing and the idea, the notion of cost and price. So we keep going, we are being disturbed by a situation, but we don't really think what it really costs us, what it costs our surrounding. And the moment that we start connecting choosing and cost and price, we get a totally different view of how we will live, how we will decide, how we will stand in life. So the big question for me always is, are you willing to pay the price, to take the cost for your choice? And if the cost of changing is much higher than remaining a situation, probably it is then better to choose not to alter the situation, but then to accept the situation. If on the other hand, the fact of remaining in the situation costs you so much more, or not choosing costs you so much more than choosing or than stepping out of that situation, than doing something that is different, then obviously I would recommend that you do that. So if we as human beings, and it is a really profound belief I have, we want to become free, we have to dare to stand up for what is important, we have to dare to show our principles, and we have to show definitely what our values are and how we want these to be respected. This was it for this week. I do hope that you find it interesting. If you did, please like the video and share it with those that you think would also like the topics. Do subscribe to the weekly before the weekend updates in my YouTube channel. I hope to see you again next week, and for now, enjoy the weekend.